Good to see you on here today. We're on Hebrews chapter 5 in our New Testament reading. We are Thursday, March 10th. Fairly short chapter, but a kind of a complex little chapter, and I didn't have time to dig too far into it, but the author is really making the point that, continuing this high priest theme that we saw yesterday, and that Jesus is the great high priest, and that his ordination is superior to the high priests mentioned in Hebrews 5 here, to Aaron, and the priesthood had to go through the tribe of Levi. Jesus did not go through from that tribe. So certainly many of the devout Jews would have thought that Jesus could not be a high priest, because the priesthood came through Levi. But the author is making it clear here that his ordination is superior to that. The priests at that time would have been born into the priesthood, appointed by men that actually had to take sacrifice for their own sin. But Jesus, it makes clear, was appointed by God and is God's Son. So he had a superior ordination, and was superior in that it says in verse 6, his priesthood, Jesus' priesthood, is forever. So it's an eternal priesthood after the order of Melchizedek. And we know very little about Melchizedek. Melchizedek is mentioned in Genesis 14, 17 through 24, and also in Psalm 110. Verse 4, and we'll see Melchizedek show up in the next couple chapters, so I may talk more about him as we get to that. But Melchizedek was a priest and a king. So Jesus, his order is, as a priest and king, like Melchizedek, not just a priest only, but a priest and king. And we'll see in chapter 7 that Melchizedek did not experience death. And I'll have to do a little bit more reading on that, and we'll talk about that on Monday when we get to that. But so the author is laying the case that Jesus is superior in his ordination. He has superior sympathy. We see in verses 7 and following that because he suffered as a man, and he is able to sympathize with man in their sin. Although Jesus did not sin, he certainly understood the temptation aspect. And we see in verse 9 a superior sacrifice, that Jesus, he became the source of eternal salvation. So the priests of the time would offer sacrifice for sin, and it would provide forgiveness for a time until they sinned again. And the author is stressing that Jesus's sacrifice is for eternity. It's for eternal salvation. It's good for all. And then we get to verses 11 through 14, and it kind of transitions talking about food and milk, that when you're young you need milk, not solid food. And the author's accusing the readers that they become dull of hearing. So they're wanting to revert back to their Judaism, and he's really stressing that no, we want to make progress forward, not going back. And that's really the purpose of this section. And really, as we get into chapter 6, this emphasis on making progress, this emphasis on growth and moving forward. And we need to remember that as well, as followers of Jesus, that we should never be stagnant in our faith, and that we need to continue to grow, continue to move forward, continue to study God's Word. It's just clearly an expectation here, and it is so easy to revert back to what what used to be and what was safe and what was normal. So just the challenge against that. So yeah, the author is laying the case that Jesus is the superior priest to the priest then. He is a priest forever, a priest for eternity, a priest in the order of Melchizedek. He has superior ordination as being God's Son. He has an understanding of sympathy that since he lived on this earth, and his sacrifice brings us eternal salvation. And then because of that, the expectation that we need to grow in our faith. That like babies, we need to move from our dependence on milk and food for babies to solid food. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. So have a great day, and we hope to see you on here tomorrow. If you're learning anything or God's speaking or any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. And yeah, God bless you.